Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Décorum by Floodgate Games.
Décorum is a cooperative game in which you are going to be trying to communicate your desires, your decor desires, to your partner or partners, but you can't do so straightforwardly because just in like real life, you can't just straight out tell somebody what you want because who does that, right? No, you got to play head games. And so you tell people like, yeah, I love what you did there, putting that retro lamp in the room, or I hate that green modern wall hanging. What were you thinking? That's sort of the idea with this game. Each person has their own secret goals that they have to achieve. And you do that by telling people you love things they did or hate things they did, or it's just meh. Let me show you more about how this game works down below, and then we'll come back and share thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, so here's Décorum on the table. Let me show you guys this game of passive-aggressive cohabitation. Now, this is a cooperative game for 2 to 4 players, and it's mostly going to play the same way regardless of however many players you have. But if you are playing with 2 players, you will play with different scenarios. This is a scenario-based game. There are 20 different scenarios for 2 players, and you will want to do these in order as they get progressively more complex and introduce new ideas to the game as you open these envelopes and work through the different puzzles in each one. And if you are playing with 3 or 4 players, you will be playing with these envelopes, which do not need to be done in any specific order, but you can go off of the star icon up here to know how difficult that particular scenario is. As you can see, they go all the way from 1 to 3 stars. Now, this is a game in which you will only do each scenario once. And so this is a one and done-ish type of game. But as you've seen, there are lots of scenarios to work through. And there is an app. And the app will have new scenarios for you as well. Now, I'm not going to feature the app in this video because the app is still in development. I have gotten to fool around with it a little bit as I'm a playtester, and it is quite nice. It does the job well. Now, I'm going to show you a demo version of this game, so nothing is going to be spoiled for you. And yes, these are just printed pieces of paper. The game is much nicer than these pieces of paper here, what is inside the envelopes. And so just keep that in mind. Now, what do you have in this game? What are the components? Well, the components consist of this house board over here. And the house board is going to be where you do the bulk of the game. You're going to have 4 different rooms, a bedroom, a bathroom, a living room, and a kitchen. And you are going to have the round tracker up here, which will keep track of the game. You will have an item board over here, and you have lots of different items on this board. Now, I cannot tilt this. All these pieces would fall off of here. As you can see, they already are. We have wall hangings, curios, and lamps. We also have 4 different styles. We've got modern, antique, retro, and unusual. And as you can see, we have 4 different colors: yellow, red, green, and blue. Now, this is all very important for the course of the game because what you are trying to accomplish in this game, you are trying to cohabitate with one another, living in the same house, and you are trying to make sure that the house is decorated to your style. And your partner, the person who you're playing the game with, or persons, they have their own style, their own wishes for how they want the house, and you've got to jive together. You got to make this work together, but just as it is in real life, you cannot directly communicate what your desires are. You have to play mind games. You cannot communicate what you want in this game. You just have to go with putting the items that you want in the house, and the other person can only respond with, yeah, that's all right, or I hate that, or I love that. And so using those simple communications, that is what you have to go off of in this game to try and figure out what works for the best of you and trying to do it in as few rounds as possible. So Let's look at this demo here, and it will give you a better idea of how this game works. Now, inside of each of the envelopes, there's going to be 3 cards, or at least for the 2-player version of the game. And the top card is going to show you a storyline. So this one here says, what's the best way to know if living together is right for the 2 of you? Staying overnight and rearranging their stuff should do the trick. And sometimes there's some clues here as to what each person wants in the storyline. But then it will show you how you need to set up the house for that round. So we are going to make the bathroom and the kitchen both yellow. As you can see, they are yellow on this card. So we take 2 of these yellow paint tokens and we're going to assign the kitchen and the bathroom yellow, whereas we're going to make the bedroom red and the living room blue. So let's go ahead and do that now as well. And also we see here that we need a blue retro wall hanging in the bathroom. So this is our blue retro wall hanging, and you can see that each one has an icon on it, and the icons match for their style. So we'll put that there. We need a blue antique curio cab holder here, and so we're going to put that right there. And we would put the rest of the things that we need in the other spots, and I'll go ahead and throw those out there real quick. And voila, we are done. And so once you have it set up, then you can take a look at the other 2 cards. Now, as you can see, one is for one player and one is for the other player. And each player will take a look at their cards secretly, not showing the other player what's on the other side. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's on this side here. It says player 1, and there are going to be a list of conditions for that particular player to make happen on their turn. This player needs to have the house to contain exactly 2 curios. And so these are the curios. Right now, we have 1, 2, and 3 on the board here. So we need to get rid of one of them because we need exactly 2. The downstairs must contain more objects than the upstairs. And right now, we do have that to be the case. So we just need to make sure that's still the case throughout the course of the game. Then thirdly, the house must not contain any green objects. Objects being these items down here. Wall color does not count as an object. So we can have one of the walls be green, but we cannot have this green wall hanging here. And rooms that contain 1 or fewer objects must be painted red. Well, that's true for the bedroom right now. It has 1 item, but the bathroom is yellow. So we would want to change the color of the bathroom to be yellow. Now, we don't know what the other players' list of conditions are, but know that they do have their own lists that will be different from your own lists. And so that's how you set up the game. Now, how does a turn work? On a player's turn, keeping track of the round here, a player will be able to take an action. And an action is going to be taking something from this board and placing it in an open spot on the house. So for instance, maybe I take this red modern wall hanging and I put it right here because there's an open spot for a wall hanging. That can be my action. After I take my action, the other player signifies to me whether they love it, hate it, or it's just meh. And the reason why they would say one of those 3 things, they would love it if what I did helped them to achieve what is ever on one of their conditions. They would say, I hate that if what I did actively works against one of their conditions. And they would say, meh, if it has no bearing on whether they are getting closer or further away from their objectives. So that's one type of action that I could do. Another type of action is I can take something that was already on the board and take it off of the board. That is a possibility. Another type of action would be to take something off of the board and swap it with something of the same type of item, like so. So I swapped out the unusual yellow wall hanging for a green antique wall hanging. And while we're on this topic real quick, you can see that the artwork is a little different for each of the items in a particular stack, but note that they are essentially the same. So those are the actions that you can do. Also, you can change out the wall color of a room. So I would want to change maybe this yellow wallpaper or
wall paint for green wall paint, and that is a particular action as well. Each player is going to take one action. So the first player will take one action, then the second player will take one action, and in between each action, again, the other player is telling them whether they love it, hate it, or meh. You'll keep track of the round after each player takes a particular action. You're going to move the round tracker one space forward. Once you get to 15 rounds, there's this double heart icon, and this is for a heart-to-heart conversation. Each player will have the option to tell the other player one of their specific conditions on their card. If you do so, you will take one of these tokens here, and you will flip it over to the X outside. And that's just going to mean that you're going to score fewer points at the end of the round. Once you get to 20 turns, you will repeat this again. And 25 turns, you will repeat it again. And after 30 turns, the round will be over. And hopefully you will have figured out what exactly you need. Because once you have everything listed on your card, you can say, I am satisfied, I'm fulfilled. And you can only do that if you are 100% satisfied. But that tells the other person that the house is perfect. You don't need anything else to go a certain way. It is how it needs to be. Now, obviously, the other person needs to still fulfill their objectives. But once they fulfill their objectives and you are both satisfied, then you have solved the puzzle and you will add up your score. Your score is going to be 3 points for every condition that you met on your card, plus 2 points for each of these hearts that you still have that you have not turned over to the X side. And that's the gist of the game. As I've already mentioned, you have tons of scenarios to go through, but there is also secret content. Now, I'm not going to show you what's inside of these, of course, but just know that there are other things that you get to unlock as you open new envelopes. And that is Décorum. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this game.
And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Décorum from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So, Sam, impressions on this one, first impressions, what do you think?
This, I think, has made it into my top 10 of this year.
Whoa, we're going right there already.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is definitely one of my favorite games that we've played. We've played it numerous times. What scenario are we on, I think?
Oh, gosh. It's double digits.
Yeah.
I can't recall.
Because every time we play multiple scenarios.
Yes, yeah.
And it's so much fun. The idea, I've never seen a game like this before. A lot of the games Lance is a therapist. We've seen a lot of the marriage games and a lot of the couple communication games, and they're fine, but I've never really enjoyed them a whole lot. This one is really interesting. Decorating, that's something that I really enjoy. And just the whole idea that you're moving in together and you may not like this and I want it like this, and how there is a solution to every problem. But how
it definitely doesn't feel like there's a solution.
Yeah, especially
at
the beginning.
Yeah.
And the way in which you have to communicate. All you can say is, I love it, I hate it, or meh.
Yeah.
So you're trying to work together to create this
harmonious blend.
Yes, and I just think it's such a unique concept.
It's very innovative. The theme it comes out in spades with this game. I mean, the theme is the game, if that makes sense. And that the fact that you can't just straight up say to the person, I only want retro lamps in this dadgum house, plays into the theme, because people don't do that in real life, right? They play head games. They tell people bits and pieces of information, but they don't just flat out lay it all out.
Yeah.
And so it's very realistic. It's a very immersive experience.
Yes.
One that you may have lived out in real life before. Now, some people might say, well, that doesn't sound like fun to me. I don't want to play real life. But it does it in a fun way.
Yes. I think the little scenarios that you're given about who you are, why you may choose those ideas, and you read the scenarios to each other, so you know, like, this is the type of person I am. I don't think it necessarily...
You can pick up on personality cues a little bit that might help you get a small little clues.
But sometimes you read, I think every time you read the list of your must-haves for every room, and you're like, I don't like.
How am I going to make this happen?
But it slowly starts to piece itself together.
Right. Okay, let's get to our pros and cons for this particular game. You've heard us gush about it, so let's put this in a more formal format. What works for you so well with this game?
I just think the uniqueness is just awesome. The ability to change the rooms to add different decor. The way in which you have to communicate, it's just so realistic. And you're putting a lamp there, you're changing color. It does feel like you're decorating, like a little dollhouse almost. And it's fun. It's a very lighthearted, fun, easy to understand, but also a brain burner because you're trying to figure out, how is this going to work?
How does this puzzle work?
Why does he keep making this room blue when I need it red? At the end, you realize, he just needed it not red, and he kept choosing blue, and you just need it not blue.
Right. Yeah.
So you decide on yellow.
Well, and to that, it is more than just a game. This is going to sound so cheesy. It's more than just a game. It's an experience, a communication experience without communicating. Because to what Sam's talking about right there, and here's the therapist in me coming out. Just what she talked about. He keeps changing it to blue. Why is he changing it to blue? Well, he's not just necessarily wanting it blue. He just doesn't want it to be green, or he doesn't want it to be retro, or he doesn't want it. And so it kind of opens your eyes to understand there's more than one way to communicate one particular thing. And we butt heads so many times because we choose the one way to communicate it when there was other ways to communicate it, and we just chose not to go there.
This could be like in the marriage starter pack.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Play this game first.
Yeah, exactly. This is a real life eye-opening experience. But no, it's a fun, unique, different kind of gaming experience because it does really kind of draw at those real life experiences and make a game out of it. So one thing I've got to throw out there is that a pro for me with this game, I sort of, after getting in about 6 games into it, I started to wonder, okay, is this going to get samey? Is it going to start to feel like I'm trying to solve the same puzzle over and over and over again, just with a little different, twist here or there?
Yeah.
They did a fantastic job of changing it up, adding new elements without giving too much away, because this is a little bit of a campaign, not legacy experience, but you are unlocking new stuff along the way. And so I don't want to give anything away, but they did a good job of keeping it fresh and reinventing it over and over and over again throughout the entire thing. So I think that's a positive for it.
And it says 30 to 45 minutes. And that may be the case later on, but I would say it's a very quick game. If you were literally only playing one scenario, 15 minutes.
20 minutes, maybe. Yeah. Unless you're just somebody who's like really sitting down and analyzing every little aspect.
Yeah, so it could take longer, but it's easy to understand, and it's really quick to play. Every time we sit down to play this, we play multiple scenarios.
Yeah. Any cons with this particular one?
Oh, man.
While you're thinking of it, I'll throw one out there real quick. And that, for me, and I think it's more of a who you play it with. I think it can be, you can get frustrated easily with this one because, as we've kind of said a time or two already, I changed this to green. Why are you changing it back to blue? Yeah. And you can't ask those questions. You can't verbalize it out there. You can't, and even if you did, the other person couldn't answer it for you. They couldn't say, well, I need this.
Yeah.
That can be a bit of a frustrating experience. And if you're playing with somebody who, and I'm not saying this is Sam at all, but if you're playing with somebody who just doesn't get it, and they're not flexible and they're not trying new things, then you can sort of be like hitting your head up against the wall.
Stonewalling,
You want to say to that person, you got to try something different. Don't keep doing the same thing over and over again.
So I think it's a really fun game it would be a fun game to get to know somebody. Yeah. And then it's also a fun game to play. We've been married 12 years. It's fun. Like, I know how this would work with him. You may think like, this is not going to work with my spouse, but maybe your best friend,
Yeah.
I think, and this is a very nitpicky con, like, could we have gone with some like more realistic colors for rooms. I understand the primary colors pop and it makes it easy to make decisions, but like, come on, guys! Like a green lamp in a red room, like it's killing me.
Nobody uses the street traffic light colors here: red, yellow, green.
Yeah. So I'm like, can we have used like some pastels? But I understand the reasoning behind that choice.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to our scores then. Scale of 1 to 10, love to hate. Is it okay if I go first on this one? Because I think Sam's going to be really high on it, and not that I'm not going to be high on it. I want to say, I'd have to think about this a little bit longer, but I do want to say that I think this is my favorite co-op game of the year. Fantastic cooperative experience, puzzle solving experience, brain burning experience with this one. A lot that I like about it. I'm going to give it an 8.4. It's a very good game. Very good game.
I'm going to give it an 8.8.
8.8.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, really liked it. I think you'll definitely see this on my list at the end of the year.
It could be number 1 on your list.
Maybe.
I don't know if you've come
I
up
always
with any.
forget which games we've played this year. I'll pick a game and
it's
we
hard
played
to
it
keep track.
2 years ago.
Yeah. So.
But no, it's definitely on my list.
Okay, well, there you have it. Definitely in the solid 8s for me, high 8s for Sam, almost 9s. There you have it. That's Decorum from Floodgate Games. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think of this game.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.